Welcome to the good life. Welcome to the good life.
The wait is over.
Welcome to the good life.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and you know we always like to jump in it on Tuesdays. And speaking of Tuesday and relationships, I thought it was a very good day to get into forgiveness and love because we have the People's Pope coming to the United States. He'll be arriving, and what is he spreading around the world? Forgiveness and love. So I figured what a better way to start our Tuesday and Relationship Tuesday on exactly what his message is. He is quoted as saying, "Human beings, while capable of the worst, are also capable of rising above themselves, choosing again what is good and making of a new start." That is your Pope, Pope Francis. And I'm going to read it for you one more time here on Relationship Tuesday. Human beings, while capable of the worst, are also capable of rising above themselves, choosing again what is good and making a new start. And in my opinion, that's what forgiveness and love is all about. It's about making a new start. We are all imperfect. I know I live in my glass box. Look, Henry looking at me. I knew. Look, Uchi looking at me. We all live in our glass boxes. I'm in the studio today with Henry, Ty, and Uche. And, you know, that's just kind of what it's all about. The Pope is visiting Cuba, about forgiveness. We can hold resentment for something for 50 years, 10 years, 5 years, 3 days, but who is getting eaten up? The other person is living their life and doing their thing. The only person that is worried about it is you. So in my personal opinion, the good life is dealing with your issue, letting it go, and moving on. Because the more it festers in you, is the more the poison is eating your soul. So that's kind of where I am on, you know, being able to move on and being able to just kind of, you know, squash the issue and forgive. And I'm not saying it's easy. Forgiveness is a process, and everybody has a different level of process. And I think as we go through relationships, it gets a little bit easier. You become a little bit mature in your forgiveness process. But at some point, you have to let it go. You know, there are people who, and I think we all know these people. There are people, male and female, who have been in divorced or had a really bad relationship, who 20, 25 years down the line are still living in that memory, in those awful circumstances, and everyone that they meet are just debris from that relationship. And who wants to live like that? Think about it. You wasted 20 years of your life. You wasted 10 years of your life. You wasted 5 years of your life worried about someone else who's now married, has 3 kids, and is vacationing all over the world, and you're still miserable by yourself. How long are you going to live in that misery? At what point do you forgive? I put up a quote the other day, and I thought this was pretty moving, actually, and I had a lot of people respond to it. Your job is not to judge. Your job is not to figure out if someone deserves something. Your job is to lift the fallen, to restore the broken, and to heal the hurting. At every point in our lives, we are the person who is broken. At every point in at some point in our lives, we are the person that is looking for that forgiveness. We've all done something we're not proud of. Stop pointing the fingers. Let's forgive and love. Look, y'all, we've all been that person. So, Henry, what's your thoughts on forgiveness? And we'll go in throughout the course of the show. We're going to go into, you know, forgiving, you know, your family. And we were talking about attachments a couple weeks ago. Forgiving, you know, your family, your friends, or whoever you grew up with. Nobody grew up with a perfect upbringing. Everybody has their issues, whether it was your parents worked too much or they didn't show you love and affection or, you know, whatever. Nobody's perfect but God, so nobody had a perfect situation. You know, forgive yourself, learn from that. You put in that situation to learn something so you can be a better person. So accept that and move on. Go ahead, Henry.
If you believe in God, I do think it is important for you to forgive because, like you said, nobody's perfect. We all have faults. We all want to be forgiven. So you can't expect to be forgiven by God if you don't forgive others. And one thing about forgiveness is that everybody has their own time frame that they may need to forgive. We all are not the same. Myself, I may take a little bit longer than some others or most people, but ultimately you do have to forgive. You know, every situation is worth forgiving. Some may be so drastic. I mean, I've seen situations where people will be in court and a murderer will be across from the family, and you'll see the family saying, "I forgive him," and I'm like, "Wow, man, I couldn't. I don't think I could do it." I mean, eventually you have to, though. You know, I'm saying that, but I've never been in that position. But I find it amazing that people can do that. But that is what you're supposed to do, and you have to evaluate yourself, self-reflection. When I look at myself, I know that's one thing I need to personally work on. And, it's very
You can have your
important.
mic back. We were sharing for a little while.
Appreciate it. But yeah, it's very, very important to forgive because you're going to want to be forgiven yourself.
We have all been in a situation where we needed forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's not just wanted, like you need it. And sometimes you're not always going to get it, which is even more reason why you should give it so freely, in my opinion.
And also, you can forgive a person without telling them you forgive them.
Yes.
Somebody may do you something where you're...
Okay, no, but sometimes you're not always ready to tell them to their face. Sometimes you just have to go through your process of forgiveness.
Well, in my opinion, is this thing on?
Yeah, you're on.
Right.
I hear you.
It went out.
Look, there's a process of forgiveness where you have to be deliberate, and you have to be just as deliberate about what you did, and you have to be just as deliberate about the apology.
I hear
and
that.
It has to be some. Yeah, it has to. You have to put effort into it. When you hurt somebody or you did something or somebody feels some kind of way about you, you did that. And you were very deliberate about the way you did it. And you have to be very deliberate about the apology also. And you have to be sincere, and you have to be humble, and you have to give a person that heartfelt apology. And you know what? That person may not forgive you, but that's their load they have to carry.
And let me clarify, because what I was talking about when you first started was being vocal about the forgiveness, not the apology. Yes, I absolutely believe you should be vocal about the apology. So let me clarify that. Go ahead, Ty.
I definitely think, if you're truly and sincerely sorry for whatever wrongdoing that you may have done, I definitely think verbalizing, your sincerity and asking for that person to forgive you, and then that person actually forgiving you is all part of the process. I do believe that there are many incidences and times where, relationships you can forgive someone, but you may not have the opportunity to sit across from one another and have a conversation about it. But I think just for the healing process, it's definitely healthy for that person to verbalize, how sorry they are, if they're intentional and
Right.
if they're sincere.
Wait, thank you. Say that one more time. If they're intentional.
Yeah, and sincere, because quite often people say, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, and
Oh,
it's like,
I forgive you.
for what?
And knowing that they have not, and everything about their interactions with you, their demeanor, their body language suggests, I'm saying it, but no, I'm really not sorry, and I probably will.
Oh, I'm sorry because I want you to talk to me again. It's like, no.
I probably will do some other,
But I'm going to do it again.
wrongdoing that
Yeah.
that falls within that realm, and that's my opinion. But I definitely think, when you search within yourself, and for many people it takes time. I think when you search within yourself and you truly forgive someone for intentional or unintentional wrongdoing, I think it allows you to get back some degree of control of your happiness.
Absolutely.
Because when you are harboring anger and hate and disgust, toward an individual, that means that the power has shifted. Eileen is
Say that
in
again.
control.
The power has shifted.
Eileen is in control.
The power has shifted.
I'm mad at Eileen, because she can rock blonde hair, whatever it may
Don't be a hater.
right? But it's you being in control of my happiness.
Right.
And when you think about it and you do the necessary reflection and you truly release that, you're heading in the direction of having control of your happiness, in my opinion.
Just like you said, you get your power back. We're going to go to the lines. We have Harold on line 1. Harold, welcome to The Good Life with the Crew. You are on with Henry, Ty, Uche, and of course myself, Eileen, on Relationship Tuesday. We have Pope Francis visiting, and we're discussing forgiveness and love because that's what we're spreading.
Oh, good morning, you guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Good morning.
I think, Eileen, how you opened up with, speaking about the Pope. I'm not Catholic, but I think he's a very transformative Pope. He speaks to a lot of different cultures, and so I think he's really doing a great job at being able to help that embargo that Cuba and the United States has. So I think that was a great way to open up, and I think he's bringing something to the nation, and hopefully he changes politics as we know it in America. Maybe I'm a little bit over with that thought, but
no, the power of positive thought. The more people who we can open their minds, that's how we change the world.
Absolutely. But just the name of the show, The Good Life, it brings happiness, even though it may not be speaking to me on any particular day, at least on every single day. Just the name of the show is definitely awesome. But I just wanted to kind of, chime in on what was going on. Henry is always just continuously on point for me personally. Not saying taking away from anybody else, and Ty, from a woman's perspective for me, through my life experiences. And I just wanted to say something, that I was, I've gone through a lot of tough relationships, but one relationship in particular, I thought I was over it, but I noticed when I kept on saying negative things. I remember a show, I think it was 2 weeks ago, you guys were saying, if you're constantly saying negative things about somebody else, maybe you haven't forgiven that other person. And it was at that point that I realized that, I wasn't over it, and I have kids, and so my son, thank goodness that I raised my children in a certain way. He actually convicted me. He was like, why do you always say something negative about such and such or whatever? And I took a step back. I said, I don't say anything negative. And he said, well, you kind of make groans and grumbles every time before the phone call, and then you kind of say something a little bit after the phone call. I don't hear what you're saying, Dad, but your face doesn't look happy.
Right, exactly.
It really convicted me as a man of courage and honor and integrity. And so, I looked at it, and I looked at the situation. I said, you know what? And I pulled over and I brought him to the park, and we sat on the bench. I said, you know what? You're right. And so me and his brother, I got him some ice cream, and at the end of the day, I think I started journaling, how I was feeling during that time period. And so, it probably would have been more helpful to have a Henry on my side during that time of my life or whatnot. But I think it was just really eye-opening for me. And so, I think another more powerful thing is that I really had to close my eyes and my ears to everyone that was around me at that particular time, because I was the person that was wrong. And by being that person that was wrong, everybody was on my side. Everybody was like, that's such and such this, that's such and such that. And it was like, wow. Even my lawyer was like, that flipping this and flipping that or whatever. I'm like, I'm not even that angry. I don't want anybody to be more angry than I am. I don't want anybody to be more happier than I am. I just want everybody to be exactly where I am. But then when I realized that wasn't moving me forward, I told everybody, stop talking to me about that person unless you're saying something completely positive, because that was the only way I was able to move on. But anyway, I just wanted to chime in that way.
No, Harold, you're on it.
You guys do definitely a great job. But, I listen to Ty on the other days when I'm trying to do my somewhat workout. And, Eileen, you're doing it every single day of the week. So I just want to tell you guys, continue to do the great job that you're doing. I wish we could raise money to help get WBOK on an FM channel where most people be able to be exposed to, this type of environment and what we really need for our community, because we're stagnant right now, and I feel like this radio programming that we have with WBOK right now is really helping our community to grow. So I'm gonna chime out of here, and you guys have a good one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Harold.
Thank
You were hitting on all points for me.
Man, he touched a nerve for me.
I know. He was hitting on all points for me. And if anyone is listening, or, we're not on FM, but, we're trying to grow. So if you want to help the station, please call in and help us. But you can always listen online at WBOK1230am.com or on the WBOK app. This is The Good Life. We will be right back. And Harold brought up a great point about exes. And I have a little piece to talk about that when we come right back. Forgiveness of exes. So this is The Good Life. This is Relationship Tuesday. And we'll be right back.
Educating children in New Orleans public schools is a challenge today. It is especially tough if you are the parent of a child with special needs. Pyramid Parent Talk is a radio show for parents by parents, providing information and support. Join hosts Lynn Farlow and Karen Harper Royal of the Pyramid Community Parent Resource Center every second and fourth Tuesdays from 2 until 2:30 p.m. for information you can use. You are not alone.
WBOK 1230 AM presents the NOLA Jam Session. This new monthly event will highlight one of New Orleans' prized possessions, local music. Music has always been a vehicle for communication between people, religion, and race. It's the universal language. Join us for the inaugural NOLA Jam Session, September 22nd at the world's famous Cafe Istanbul, 2372 St. Claude Avenue. We'll be featuring the sounds of Philip Manuel, Troy Sawyer and the Elements, and James 12 Andrews and the Crescent City All-Stars. Show starts at 8 p.m., $10 at the door. It's the NOLA Jam Session, hosted by me, Graylin Banks. Come out and enjoy live music, dancing, and drinks at Cafe Istanbul, Tuesday, September 22nd at 8 p.m., featuring Philip Manuel, Troy Sawyer and the Elements, and James 12 Andrews and the Crescent City All-Stars. Help support your station and our beloved musicians. For pre-sale tickets or more information, call 504-942-0106. We know you want to jam. We'll see you there.
On Saturday, September 26, 2015, Dillard University's Office of Community Relations will host its 9th annual Housing and Home Improvement Fair on Dillard's campus in the Professional Schools building. The housing fair will run from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Admission is free and the event is open to the public. The event's co-sponsors include AARP, Capital One Bank, Nomar, U.S. Department of HUD, Energy New Orleans, First NBC, Liberty Bank, Regions Bank, and Bayou Title. Workshops series will cover such topics as obtaining a DBE, foreclosure options, obtaining a contractor's license, applying for 501c3 status, credit report repair, and obtaining clear title to your property. For more information, please call Nick Harris at 504-816-4704, 816-4704.
Are you looking for a better way to get fit? Bored with the same old routines? Looking for results or a way to instill discipline in the kids? Tiger Rock Martial Arts is the answer with Taekwondo, kickboxing, and self-defense classes. Tiger Rock diversifies your training in ways that allows individuals of all ages and fitness levels to feel like a champion. Join Tiger Rock today. TigerRockNOLA.com or 504-455-9694. That's 504-455-9694 with a 3-class starter pack starting for only $38, which includes your training uniform. Learn, grow, and succeed with Tiger Rock's 3 convenient locations: Old Metairie, West Bank, and Clearview. There's no better time to start gaining strength, skills, and protection for life than now. 504-455-9694. 504-455-9694. See you on the mat.
Are you tired of that squeaking door, those uneven steps, or that room you want painted? Have you been looking for that trustworthy contractor that is licensed and insured that can handle all of your residential construction needs? Well, look no further. Elite Southern Solutions can handle all your residential needs. There is no job too big or too small that Elite Southern Solutions can't complete to perfection. Call them at 504-756-7933. That's 504-756-7933. To add value to your home, to update your bathroom, add that much-needed storage, or finally remodel your kitchen. Elite Southern Solutions will take care of that water leak repair, those boards that need to be replaced after termite season. Call a contractor you can trust to get the job done right the first time. And that's Elite Southern Solutions. They are fully licensed and insured and will give you peace of mind. Call them today at 504-756-7933. That's 504-756-7933. That's Elite Southern Solutions, getting the job done right the first time. L&R Security provides the good life. They make their mark in the security arena by providing excellent security services for more than 35 years and are licensed in more than 13 states. L&R Security's team comes with a wealth of experience from the military, law enforcement, and law enforcement training. Their personnel is comprised of more than 200 employees trained in video monitoring, special event services, convention services, armed and unarmed security guards, ticket takers, executive security, personal bodyguards, hall monitors, and critical infrastructure personnel that are TSA trained. L&R Security services are provided on a 24-hour basis and have expanded to the newest technology, including video monitoring. Find them on the web at www.lrsecurity.com or call them today at 504-943-3191. Again, that number is 504-943-3191. Live the good life with L&R Security today.
Want to know what's happening in city contracting, education, workforce opportunities, finance, housing, and all the things that directly impact our community? Tune in to Urban Speaks, your weekly news show hosted by the Urban League of Greater New Orleans. Catch Urban Speaks Tuesday afternoons at 2:30 p.m. Urban Speaks is an Urban League community news program hosted in partnership with Capital One Bank.
Talk radio heard around the globe. New Orleans owned WBOK 1230 AM and WBOK1230AM.com. Real talk for real times.
Welcome to the good life. Welcome to the good life.
The wait is officially over. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to The Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we are discussing forgiveness and love. Pope Francis is visiting the United States, and his main message is forgiveness and love. He's just leaving Cuba, where he was hoping for a reconciliation, and he's praying for a reconciliation. And we can all take that bit and apply it to our lives. What could we do if we all forgave somebody for something that happened to us or for something that we're doing? Or how about just forgiving yourselves for something? We were talking to Harold a little bit earlier in the first segment of the show. And when you recognize you're doing something, forgive yourself for it and make the change. It is what it is. We all live in a glass box. I live in a glass house. Henry lives in a glass house. Ty lives in a glass house. Uche, the person sitting next to you, everybody does. None of us are perfect. And it's funny because I'm glad Harold brought this up because, you know, I've been I'm divorced. And there's one thing I learned, that my ex is not my child's ex. And I found this quote. Your children, they love your ex just as much as they did before. Do not talk down about someone that they love. Do not make them feel bad for loving their own parent. They did not choose this. Choose your children first. When you talk negatively about the other person that brought your child in the world, you are speaking negatively about your child. And you are berating them every day about how bad half of them is. Think about that. You're going in on them about how bad they are. That's half of their genes. That's half of their personality. They wouldn't even be here if that person did not exist. So you keep talking about that person day in and day out. They're going to start believing it about themselves. So we need to pay attention to what we say around our children and start forgiving ourselves, number one, for saying it, because, you know, we all have issues and we all have times. It's the past. Do something different today. Open your mind to living differently today and do something differently. That's the good life. It's a good life for yourself. It's a good life for your children. Forgive yourself, forgive your spouse, and live a life of freedom with your children. I have Uche nodding his head. You want to talk about this, Uche?
Yeah, don't let people live rent free in your head, you know?
Hello.
I like that. It's like, look, and that's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is letting somebody consume your thoughts, your actions, and that's what holding a grudge is. I'm sorry. It's letting somebody consume your thoughts, your actions, your mannerisms, your facial expressions, your perfect 77-degree day.
Right.
You know? And you start thinking about this person, and you know, the thing that Harold said that I wanted to go back in on was, you know, forgiveness, especially with family, friends, and things that happen, is, look, if you go to war with me and I've forgiven somebody, you need to forgive them too. What are you holding Why are you holding a grudge I'm not holding anymore? I
Right.
appreciate your support, and your support being just listening to what I'm saying. I don't need you to take action. I just need you to be a great listener, great supporter. But when it's over, it's over.
It's over.
And that's the true thing about forgiveness. Forgiveness is more about dismissal than anything. Because once you've forgiven somebody, or when somebody's asked for forgiveness, you don't bring it up anymore. It's
Let it
just
go.
childish at that point. It's over with if you've forgiven them.
Right.
Now, you can, look, I've told people, I'm like, I hear you, but I don't forgive you.
Right.
Or I hear the forgiveness, but I don't have to like it.
Right.
But
I'm not there yet, and that's okay.
yeah, very much so. But when you get there, I think things at this point in my life, they have to be deliberate, and you have to tell people. You have to tell people that, and it's like, look, if you forgive somebody, tell them you forgive them. If you need forgiveness, tell them you need it. Be specific. Look, I remember last week I did X, Y, Z. I understand it made you feel like this, this, and this. Can you please forgive me for what I did to you?
And here's the deal. You can forgive somebody before they give you an apology.
I can't.
I can.
I've
I've done it.
I'm petty like that. I can't.
I can, and I've done it. You can forgive somebody before they give you an apology. Sometimes you have to accept the apology you're never going to get. And you may actually get it in the future. But you have to release
I'll receive
that
it in the future.
and you have to release it and that forgiveness for yourself. Go ahead, Ty, before we go to lines.
Oh, no, I was just going to, I just feel like, truly understanding forgiveness is you expanding your level of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Because, to forgive allows you to acknowledge, okay, that some wrongdoing was done to you.
Mm-hmm.
And in that wrongdoing, it needs to be made right. And acknowledging that that person did that to you, and that person acknowledging that they did that to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a teaching tool for both people
Right.
in how you could approach it.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't necessarily end up being a teaching tool for the person that wronged you, it's still a teaching tool for you. It allows you to grow in your consciousness and in your awareness and how you move forward and how you interact with other people.
It makes
Welcome
me a
back,
stronger
Taifa.
person. I know. It makes me a stronger person. We have Reverend H on line 1. Reverend H, welcome to The Good Life. We are here with Henry, Ty, Uche, and of course myself, Eileen, on Relationship Tuesday. We have Pope Francis visiting the United States, and he is spreading forgiveness and love, so that's our conversation today. Reverend H? Hello? Oh, I think we lost him. That's okay. Go ahead, Ty.
Where does, you ever have a friend that just always pulls that victim card?
Yeah, and you know what you tell that friend? You can't blame me for everything. Get out of here. You know?
Right? Or somebody that just seems to always feel like everything else is wrong
Mm-hmm.
and that they don't take
I call
any
those
type of responsibility.
I call those troublemakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they are.
And I really believe that when you own forgiveness, you're taking back control of, no, I'm not a victim. No, this situation is not out of my control. And you actually can gain some level of control back in the situation, the circumstance, the interaction, or the relationship with that person. When you shift your thought process to, no, okay, this person did me wrong. I'm going to look at it for this one single solitary incident or situation, and I'm going to cut it off if it continues to proceed, because past behavior does predict future behavior. We all know that.
Yes.
And it's very important that you watch what people do more than what they say. Hence why you have two eyes.
Two ears.
What? Watch and listen to what they do, and that truly allows you to come to a understanding as if they're really truly sorry.
But I do believe that no one is ever stuck in being one way. And I will say this, and here's another quote from Pope Francis. Each of us has a vision of good and evil. We have to encourage people to move towards what they think is good. Everyone has his own idea of good and evil and must choose to follow the good and fight the evil as he conceives them. That would be enough to make the world a better place. We all know right from wrong. We all know what makes us feel good. We all know what makes us feel bad. It's really that simple. It hasn't changed that much since you were a child. There's no gray. We have Solomon on line 1. Solomon, welcome to The Good Life. You are here on Relationship Tuesday. We're discussing forgiveness and love as Pope Francis visits the United States. Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
How y'all doing?
Good.
it's the truth. I mean, forgiveness is therapeutic for the individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and then it heaps the coal over the other individual's head. I mean, all I can do is forgive you. Okay? Now, that's like me putting down a load of bricks.
Yes.
If you're carrying a load of bricks and they're getting heavy, what's the simplest thing to do? And that's the most difficult thing to do. Yeah, put it down. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not clear of all of the unforgiveness and everything. No, there's still some issues with me because, like you said, nobody is perfect.
Right.
But what I try to do is like, I think it was Uche. I have it another way. I don't rent negative space in my head to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not carrying that. I'm not carrying that load. But, you know, it's just like the Bible says, God tells you to forgive your enemies. It sounds easy, but that's a difficult process to go through.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And there are certain phrases that some people never say in their lives, and it's very difficult to say. I'm sorry. I was wrong.
I love you.
Forgive me, and I love you.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like pulling teeth to utter those phrases. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I know for sure, if I don't know anything else, an apology is not an apology if it starts with if.
Right.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you so much, Solomon. Solomon said a mouthful this morning. Henry, you want to respond to that?
Not directly, but I do want to ask the panel a question.
Ask us a question.
Ask Eileen.
Yeah, this is going to be Ask Eileen.
Have all of you up here today sat down with every last one of your exes and talked about, you know, you forgave them or they forgave you, etc.?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Serious ones.
Yeah.
I
Serious
could
ones.
definitely say no. And to be honest, if an opportunity was granted, I would definitely, you know, sit there and
Well, you should make that opportunity happen today.
I don't know about that.
Sometimes it's just writing.
But,
sometimes it's writing a letter to them that you're not going to send. I mean, everybody doesn't still have contact where, you know, you can pick up the phone or send an email. But sometimes it's writing the letter that you're not going to send just to get it out of you.
Yeah, no, I've forgiven the person. You know, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, if by some way, somehow, our paths cross and an opportunity manifests for us to sit down like we bump into each other in a coffee shop or something like that, I'll sit down and say, I'm sorry for any and everything you've ever done to me. You know,
I write the letter because I don't want our paths
and
to
vice
cross.
versa. You know? But I won't, you know, go above and beyond and try to locate the person because I'm not carrying it like that where, you know.
I will say sometimes you don't think you are. And I will say this because, you know, shout out to Dr. Phil. It was after Katrina and I was, you know, reading, you know, me and my self-help books. I was reading one of those Dr. Phil books and it was something that he suggested. And so all of my, you know, relationships where I felt like there was a connection or I really cared about them, I wrote a letter. And a lot of them, not a lot of them I hadn't met, but, you know, I felt so much better. But here was the trick.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a letter to them, forgiving them, and they wrote a letter to me apologizing. But I wrote the letter. That was the most therapeutic thing I have done in my entire life.
I wouldn't have anything in my letter to write.
Well,
other than I forgive you and you can forgive me.
No. I'm not. Well, I can't say that your way is not the way. That's the way that works for you. But look, I've written a bunch of those letters, and it's like I'm very specific to be like, look, this is what it was. This is what it wasn't. This is how I felt. This is how I hope you move on in life. This is how I'm gonna move on in life. I wish you well in your life, but I definitely don't want you in mine. Goodbye.
Oh, wow.
Right. No, I agree. And
then when you see that person in the coffee shop, it's like it's a simple nod because it's like it's over.
Exactly.
It's over. All's forgiven. Start with a clean slate. Go do well in your next relationship.
High five, Uche. I'm with that. And Henry can testify without putting all our business on blast. I feel that, though. Yeah. I totally feel that. Like, let it go. You know, I'm not perfect. And generally, people don't want to be bad. They have some people who are just negative and evil. Now, let's put them in a different box. Most people don't want to be bad. They don't want to be, do negative things. It's something that maybe happened in their past, or, they have a wall up or whatever that has created a circumstance for them. And I just get to the point where I'm like, I feel bad for them. I've had my own issues. Maybe I put up a wall. I'm going to accept responsibility for my box, and you accept responsibility for yours. Our puzzle pieces just didn't match, and it's okay. I learned something from you. Hopefully I made your life better, and we're going to move on.
Here's a fact. There is no relationship that has broken up where it's one person's fault.
Exactly.
Never. And I don't care who it is. You could say, I've been the perfect wife, I've been the perfect husband, etc. He did this, he did that. Man, you did something.
You participated.
Something. You maybe you weren't showing enough attention. It's just a pure fact. And I hate to see people when they play the victim role and they pointing fingers. He did this, he did that. But I do believe it's important to have those conversations with exes, especially if you've held a grudge for a long time. I can speak for myself. I've been done many wrong things, and I've done wrong things as well. But one thing for me, after the breakup, I would always say, man, I hate her. I hate her. I had to tell myself that until I could finally build the courage to stop being a little wuss and be like, you know what? I ain't tripping.
Right.
And then once I got to that point, I could have the conversation. And look, I may have not heard I'm sorry from that other person, but I was cool. I had to say what I had to say.
That was your process.
Yeah, I was like,
and that's cool. That's your process.
I'm sorry for what I did.
Right.
Maybe I wasn't the best person I should have been, etc. They didn't have to say sorry back. I didn't care. It was for me, though.
Right.
I said, look, I got to get this off my chest. Whatever you walk around with, you hate me
No, you
still.
put those bricks on them at that point.
Yeah, they can have them.
That's your load.
I ain't tripping.
We're going to go. We have Reverend H on the line again. We're going to go to him before we go to our break. Reverend H, welcome back to The Good Life.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Arlene, and your staff and your guests. I'm enjoying you this morning.
Thank you.
And I don't do as much counseling as I used to, but I listen a lot, and sometimes I hear. Sometimes people will come to me. I have this happen sometimes 10 times in a month. Well, I say this is my fault, and I tell them, I say, well, you go and you pray over that, and you don't get an answer, and then come back. So when people say things like that, I listen carefully because I could give an answer, but I won't give an answer, but I'd rather for them to find themselves and let them answer. Now, I'm going to say this to the professional Henry. I don't know him. But there are many times in an automobile, it only takes one thing to keep it from running. So many times I've saw marriages where young ladies wanted to get out of the house, and they married, and they never stopped dating the other boy, and sometimes the child doesn't belong to him, and he's still running with the other man, in other words, and the other guy doesn't know it, in other words, and things find out. Vice versa with the men. So all the time, it can be one-sided. It don't have to be two sides all the time. Just like a dollar, there's one side for Caesar and one side to the Lord. But anyway, I'm enjoying the other words. Let me say this. I saw a movie one time. I think it was Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman. Unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is the worstest thing in the world. And that's how come I said, in other words, it's my fault. And many times people have faults, and they will not go to the other person to get forgiveness, and they're still hanging on to it, and that's how come I don't answer those questions. I tell them, in other words, to go and pray, then come back, and most of the time they say, well, I have the answer. Some of them say, well, I went and I asked forgiveness, and so just saying I forgive that person, then you can go to that person and tell that person that you forgive them. Otherwise, I don't think it works.
Absolutely. I 110% agree with you, Reverend H. This
is
Eileen.
I'm going to hang up and let you all listen. But
we're going to take a quick break. This is Eileen. This is Good Life. This is Relationship Tuesday. We are celebrating Pope Francis' visit to the United States, and we're discussing forgiveness and love, and we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Reverend Samson Skip Alexander. Join me each Tuesday at 1 p.m. for Eyewitness to History. We'll discuss how things used to be in the good old days. Join us each Tuesday at 1 p.m. for Eyewitness to History, only on WBOK, 1230 a.m. Real talk for real time.
Are you looking for a better way to get fit? Bored with the same old routines? Looking for results or a way to instill discipline in the kids? Tiger Rock Martial Arts is the answer with Taekwondo, kickboxing, and self-defense classes. Tiger Rock diversifies your training in ways that allows individuals of all ages and fitness levels to feel like a champion. Join Tiger Rock today. TigerRockNola.com or 504-455-9694. That's 504-455-9694 with a 3-class starter pack starting for only $38, which includes your training uniform. Learn, grow, and succeed with Tiger Rock's 3 convenient locations: Old Metairie, West Bank, and Clearview. There's no better time to start gaining strength, skills, and protection for life than now. 504-455-9694. 504-455-9694. See you on the mat.
Are you tired of that squeaking door, those uneven steps, or that room you want painted? Have you been looking for that trustworthy contractor that is licensed and insured that can handle all of your residential construction needs? Well, look no further. Elite Southern Solutions can handle all your residential needs. There is no job too big or too small that Elite Southern Solutions can't complete to perfection. Call them at 504-756-7933. That's 504-756-7933. To add value to your home, to update your bathroom, add that much-needed storage, or finally remodel your kitchen. Elite Southern Solutions will take care of that water leak repair, those boards that need to be replaced after termite season. Call a contractor you can trust to get the job done right the first time, and that's Elite Southern Solutions. They are fully licensed and insured and will give you peace of mind. Call them today at 504-756-7933. That's 504-756-7933. That's Elite Southern Solutions, getting the job done right the first time. L&R Security provides the good life. They make their mark in the security arena by providing excellent security services for more than 35 years and are licensed in more than 13 states. L&R Security's team comes with a wealth of experience from the military, law enforcement, and law enforcement training. Their personnel is comprised of more than 200 employees trained in video monitoring, special event services, convention services, armed and unarmed security guards, ticket takers, executive security, personal bodyguards, hall monitors, and critical infrastructure personnel that are TSA trained. L&R Security services are provided on a 24-hour basis and have expanded to the newest technology, including video monitoring. Find them on the web at www.lrsecurity.com or call them today at 504-943-3191. Again, that number is 504-943-3191. Live the good life with L&R Security today.
Want to know what's happening in city contracting, education, workforce opportunities, finance, housing, and all the things that directly impact our community? Tune in to Urban Speaks, your weekly news show hosted by the Urban League of Greater New Orleans. Catch Urban Speaks Tuesday afternoons at 2:30 p.m. Urban Speaks is an Urban League community news program hosted in partnership with Capital One Bank.
WBOK 1230 AM presents the NOLA Jam Session. This new monthly event will highlight one of New Orleans' prized possessions, local music. Music has always been a vehicle for communication between people, religion, and race. It's the universal language. Join us for the inaugural NOLA Jam Session, September 22nd at the world's famous Cafe Istanbul, 2372 St. Claude Avenue. We'll be featuring the sounds of Philip Manuel, Troy Sawyer and the Elements, and James 12 Andrews and the Crescent City All-Stars. Show starts at 8 p.m., $10 at the door. It's the NOLA Jam Session hosted by me, Graylin Banks. Come out and enjoy live music, dancing, and drinks at Cafe Istanbul, Tuesday, September 22nd at 8 p.m., featuring Philip Manuel, Troy Sawyer and the Elements, and James 12 Andrews and the Crescent City All-Stars. Help support your station and our beloved musicians. For pre-sale tickets or more information, call 504-942-0106. We know you want to jam. We'll see you there.
Talk radio heard around the globe. New Orleans owned WBOK 1230 AM and WBOK1230AM.com. Real talk for real times.
Welcome to the good life. Welcome to the good life.
The wait is over. The wait is officially over. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to the Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here discussing forgiveness and love because Pope Francis is visiting the United States, and I have a very big announcement
Man, go
to
sit
make.
down somewhere with all
I
that.
have been trying to hold it in the
Oh, my
entire
goodness. You ain't
show,
taking nobody.
so I need everyone
I
to
don't forgive you.
make sure that they tune in tomorrow because Doc Griggs will be holding down the studio in New Orleans because I will be in D.C. at the White House meeting or greeting the Pope. Did I say that? Did you all hear me? Yes, I will be in D.C. See, yeah, y'all need to know. You need to know. I'm going to the White House. Thank you, KCP, my sister. I'm absolutely blessed. It is nothing but the Lord, and I'm just really excited. So the Good Life will be in D.C. We will be on the line with Doc Riggs tomorrow for Wellness Wednesday because we will be all be getting our wine right.
You didn't ask us to go. Don't look at me.
No, I didn't. Look, I'm praising Jesus. I'm going. I don't know what you're talking about.
Somebody just texted me
Hopefully
and said,
he'll blow me a prayer, and I'll spread it to everyone here on the Good Life.
Somebody texted me and just said it sounds like a church show right now.
Look. If it opens your mind to living differently in the world and you become a better person, then hopefully a seed was set in you and it sows. So yes, that came from the Bible too, and it grows.
And that throws me off because, there's a clear distinction between spirituality, a religion and church.
You all your own church.
And I truly, exactly, and I truly believe that I really have great admiration for Pope Francis. I think he's the Pope, for Catholics. I think he's the Pope for American Catholics. I think he's the Pope for non-Catholics. There's a great deal, many people who are not practicing Catholics and are Catholics that really respect a lot of his views, and I admire how he's being sharing his thoughts and beliefs on what's going on and trying to push for the betterment of so many of us as it relates to climate change. Climate
change.
Yes, he's touching everything. But that's the deal.
Climate change?
The show is about Pope Francis. So he is the leader of the Catholic Church. So if I'm touching someone who may be not Catholic, that's wonderful as well. But obviously, he's not just an ordinary man. He's the Pope.
No, he
so
is
I encourage.
He is an ordinary man.
But you know what? He has been able to touch people in a way, and he is the people's Pope. He has been able to touch people in a way that no one has done in a long time. And I don't just mean
if God
Catholics,
can't touch you like that.
And I don't just mean
you're right. If God doesn't touch you like that, and you need a physical person to do that,
well, you know what? Sometimes people do.
Well, I'm not one of those.
And if His word, and that's okay. But if His word are touching people and opening their minds to living differently in the world, then you know what? Then let's spread the message. And that's what we do here on The Good Life. He's coming to the United States, and I'm celebrating him coming to the United States. God's my security detail. I'm good.
I thought the Pope was.
I'm straight. No. God is. We're all good there. No, but speaking of love and reconciliation and forgiveness and understanding, we've talked about, love of self. We've talked about forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others, especially exes in relationships. Do it for our children, let them grow up without all of that animosity. And we want to kind of just switch into gears with love. And, we've been talking about forgiveness, but love is so important. It changes things. Sometimes, you just see children, and no child is bad in my opinion. Everybody, has a streak, but sometimes, look, sometimes children just need a hug. No, I'm sorry. Innately, Liddy. Well, innately when they're little, I want to believe that everyone, has it in them. I'm not saying everyone chooses. We have free will, so you can go one way or the other. But sometimes I believe children act out because they need a little attention and they need a little love. And so I think we should look in that direction before it's always a punishment or it's always sit in the corner. And I'm not saying they may not deserve the discipline.
They got adults that need to go in time out.
Discipline is love. There's discipline is love as well. But sometimes we need to look at why the action is occurring and not always, driving the rod down. Henry, you're nodding your head.
I agree.
What are your thoughts as from the relationship therapist point of view? And then you, Ty.
About what? Children?
All of the above. Love. No, y'all don't want me to say this one.
Let me say this. I definitely agree. With what you just said as a reference. Peeling a couple of layers back to really assess what's the true issue, and challenge that may be taking place within a child. Because every person you meet is fighting a battle, in my opinion, that you may know nothing about.
Idea.
And rather recently, there's a photo circulating of two, what appears to be either very young boys. In handcuffs in Texas, and they are in flip-flops, and allegedly they were identified as suspects in a robbery. And the image is circulating, and I definitely think what you just referenced definitely needs to be part of a key part of the conversation as it relates to community policing and how police interact, with especially African American men, and in particular African American boys. And so I say that to say that, yes, children are a product of their upbringing. They're a product of the experiences that have taken place, in their lives. They're a reflection of their family in some instances, and the values that their family has tried to instill in them. And yes, I truly do believe, for the most part, children seek out love and attention. But there are many incidences where you have some children who are lost.
Yes.
And have gone astray.
And these children grow up to be adults like us.
It requires professional intervention and should be taken very seriously and not lightly at all.
Absolutely.
And it takes commitment and discipline. And in that commitment and discipline, it's going to take a whole lot of love as well.
Absolutely. Uche, thoughts?
No thoughts. Y'all switched on to love, so I'm like.
You're not feeling that.
I ain't about that life right
now.
Since
we're discussing Pope Francis, here's another quote from him. We must restore hope to young people, help the old, be open to the future, spread love, be poor among the poor. We need to include the excluded and preach peace. Pope Francis.
I like that. The one that stands out the most to me is be poor among the poor.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. That's truly being humble, and that's like, I don't know. It's like when I go to church, there's this one guy, and he's homeless and everything, and it's like, and I always shake hands with him, give him a hug, the whole nine, and and most people look like. They're looking for hand sanitizer and brushing themselves off, and it's like, no, it's like this role could be reversed.
Right.
So it's really an empathetic view on that. So the one thing is be poor among the poor. Definitely, that's the one that stood out the most for me and touched me the most. So.
Absolutely. Ty?
Pope Francis definitely also, tweeted and reminded us of, the scripture and caring for the needy and the poor. And he also even challenged businesses and corporations, not businesses and corporations,
churches
who have a tax-exempt status, but, who are not using their buildings
Absolutely.
to
he
care
said if
for,
you're not giving to the poor, you shouldn't have the tax-exempt status. I said,
exactly.
Well, so
that's very admirable, redirecting what the focus is and taking it down to the basics of Christianity and caring for the needy and the poor, and so forth. So.
And speaking while I'm on my quotes, because here's another one that I love. Although the life of a person is in the land full of thorns and weeds, there is always a space in which the good seed can grow. You have to trust God. Pope Francis. And that goes to what y'all were saying. Y'all were laughing at me. I was like, everybody has a little bit of good in them. They may not use it all the time, but everybody has a little bit of good in them. You've seen it at some point in their lives. And just like I said, they have people who got married when they were young and were vibrant people. They got messed over and then they have been miserable for the rest of their lives. They're 60 and 70 years old and they're just like miserable.
That's a matter of choice. And if you're miserable at 60 and 70 years old, you deserve it.
That's my point.
You deserve it.
But you have to forgive yourself.
Well, you have to make a choice to do these things.
And forgive the other person. Yes.
And it takes effort. And that's what nobody wants to do. Everybody wants to be lazy. Don't be lazy. Especially you ladies.
Live the good life.
I heard Tupac say this one time. He said, if you take a O out of good, it's God, which means when you're good, you're closer to God. And when you add a D to the word evil, it's the devil. So when you're evil, you're closer to the devil.
Hello,
Boom.
Henry. Look at you today.
That's Pac.
That's Pac.
Thug life.
Thug life.
Sometimes that's what you have to do. Any final thoughts before we are out today?
If there's anyone I've wronged or offended in life, this is my apology to you. I apologize.
Anyone who's wronged me, I forgive you. How about that? Ty Henry?
Just continue to seek the best in people and look for the best and hope for the best.
And we're going to hope for the best because early voting starts Saturday, October 10th, and I need everyone to register to vote by tomorrow, Wednesday, September 23rd. It is the last day to register. You can register online at sos.la.gov. sos.la.gov. Y'all, that is the good life. Vote. It is love, forgiveness. Do it all for everybody else in the world. Please vote and make sure you meet us tonight at WBOK 12:30 a.m. presents the NOLA Jam Session. The WBOK presents the NOLA Jam Session, a new monthly music series event kicking off tonight, Tuesday, September 22nd at Cafe Istanbul, 2372 St. Claude Avenue at 8 p.m. Make sure you are there. We'll all be there. The NOLA Jam Session will feature the best local musicians New Orleans has to offer while creating a community of music lovers and contributors. The lineup includes Philip Manuel, Troy Sawyer and the Elements, and James Andrews and the Crescent City All-Stars. You do not want to miss it. 8 p.m. tonight, Cafe Istanbul. 8 p.m. tonight, Cafe Istanbul. That is the good life. And I'm out. Make sure you tune in to me tomorrow because I'll be at the White House in D.C. You don't want to miss it.